It's Saturday morning. The Experts program kicks off here on Power Talk Radio, and that means that Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is here to join us on the program. Welcome back, Luis.
Thank you, Mark. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. So we have some interesting things to talk about. First off, flying cars are coming. Now, I remember the first time I saw a flying car, there was like a prototype of one, and I think it's still on display in the SeaTac Airport, the Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Have you ever seen that flying car that they have on display? I think somebody developed it back in the 50s.
No, but you know what? I'm going to be at SeaTac in a couple of weeks. I'm going up there for our annual crabbing event where we go out and drop crab pots to get Dungeness crabs.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to check that out. Anyway, talk about the modern flying car. What's happening with this?
There's a professor in Slovakia in Europe named Stefan Klein, and he developed an actual flying car that just completed a test flight, a 35-minute test flight between two airports in Slovakia. And after it landed, the car tucked its wings back down and became just a regular road vehicle. It's really fascinating. You can look at, you can Google it, look up for air car and Slovakia, and you'll see the video. But it really shows that there's some significant advancements happening now with these short-range aerial vehicles that people have been developing or starting to actually come into development. And we're going to see more and more of this, especially as the effects of the pandemic start to wear off.
So how does this work exactly? How fast will it go? How high can it fly? And what type of licensing do you need to be able to fly an air car?
All good questions. The licensing part I can't speak to, but I can tell you it flies at around 8,000 feet, 115, 125 miles an hour. So it's not super fast, but it can go from point A to point B much quicker than driving along roadways. And the runway it needs is pretty short. So you can see if this actually takes off and people start buying these things that you can pretty much build a landing strip or a departure strip in most areas to accommodate these air cars. And I think once they become available practically, you'll start to see them being adopted by people that may have long-range commutes that decide, hey, I might as well invest in something like this. It has a lot of technology built into it to keep it safe, as well as a parachute that can be deployed in case for some reason the engine fails, so that it can just be brought down to earth gently. Can't guarantee where it's going to land, but at least it's not going to crash down to earth.
What's the wingspan like on something like this?
I think it's about 30, 35 feet in total, about 15 feet per side. And the way it works is the vehicle kind of along the side of the vehicle. And then when you're ready to take off, you just extend it out. It takes about 30 seconds to get the wings out. And then you can just accelerate and take off.
Where are the wings stored when you're not driving it? Do they fold back into the vehicle?
Yeah, they fold back into the vehicle. So they go up and then back and along the side. So they become like two big, what are those, the old cars that had those big blades on the back of them?
You mean like airfoils?
Like airfoils, yeah, exactly.
Interesting. And then I guess I wonder what the car weighs, carrying around that extra weight. By the way, when it's flying, any idea of what the endurance is, how far you can travel in it?
Yeah, so that's the really cool thing is that it can go for up to 3 hours in the air.
So that'd be like 300 miles at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, about 300 miles, yeah.
Okay.
So not
cool.
A bad deal.
This kind of reminds me of the flying Matador in The Man with the Golden Gun, the car that Scaramanga had. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a long time ago. But
science fiction becoming science reality, Luis.
It is. I mean, we have a lot of development, even locally. Joby over here, Joby Aviation in Marina is developing their flying vehicle that is going into production, they say, next year. And there's a lot of other companies that are out there that are trying to develop these, short-range air taxi type things that are designed to basically overcome the congestion for the people that can afford to use them. And we're going to see more of it.
I wonder if these run on avgas or if they run on regular gasoline.
The one in Slovakia, I think, runs on regular gas.
Oh,
but I know,
gas, wow.
Yeah, Joby Aviation, though, that's an all-electric vehicle. So that's designed to be silent and run off of lithium-ion batteries. Has a shorter range. It's only about 150 miles between charges, but it's designed to be much more environmentally friendly and quiet because they expect that these vehicles will be used in dense populations. Think of New York York or
Right.
San Francisco or the Bay Area. So they don't want a lot of noise because they fly much lower than the traditional aircraft, about the same height as this air car in Slovakia, about 8,000 feet.
Which would put them in the same airspace as, does that put them in the same airspace as, say, a Cessna, like a private, or are they flying higher?
No, Cessnas fly higher. This will put them in the same area as like a helicopter or other rotary aircraft like that.
And they're moving, I guess, at 100 miles an hour.
About 125 miles an hour, yeah.
So I guess, is that slow enough that they can avoid each other?
I think so. And the technology that they're using, they're working very closely with the FAA to develop basically collision avoidance systems so that as these aircraft start to crowd the sky, that they'll be able to talk to each other and navigate around each other without, causing any sort of problems.
Speaking of things that fly, let's talk about drones here. Turn the page to drones, and apparently there's some news on a drone that can carry a 100-pound payload. Boy, that's pretty heavy. And I saw a story in the Santa Cruz Sentinel about this called Parallel Flight and Firefly combining. What do you know about this?
This is a company, Parallel Flights, developed a drone that basically can carry a 100-pound payload for about 2 hours. It uses a traditional internal combustion engine, so it's not an electric engine. That's why it has the range that it does. But it can fly into places that you wouldn't want to send a human being. So this is being developed in part to help firefighting in California. The idea there is that this drone called the Firefly will be able to drop off heavy packages to firefighters that may be out in the field and can't be accessed any other way. But it can also drop payloads directly onto remote fires and be able to go into places that you wouldn't send a manned aircraft. It's a real important development in firefighting, especially as, we have seen in the last couple of years that these fires are getting bigger and more dangerous, and we need to find new ways to fight them.
There's commercial applications for this as well. If something can deliver 100-pound payloads, that means that really opens the opportunity for all sorts of different commercial delivery of things that you buy from Amazon and other online retailers, right?
Yep, exactly. Especially when you can fly 2 hours and cover a pretty big radius of distance, you're no longer limited like some of the drones that they're talking about using now that really are just limited to within a few miles of a distribution center.
Well, that's pretty fascinating, and just lots of things going on in technology these days. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us here on Power Talk Radio online. It's alvareztg.com, at AlvarezTG. That is their Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.